Election Day, Tuesday, November 5th. Work is over. It's only 6 o'clock, and it is pitch black outside. But as the election is up for grabs today, the happiness of Virginia Tech and Clemson fans are up for grabs on Saturday. I am Billy Ray Mitchell. This is Patrick Finn with me. We are the Sons of Saturday, and we are here to talk about the Battle of the Gridiron taking place in Lane Stadium on Saturday at 3:30. A game that we kind of all had circled, Pat. We were excited. We were like, meaningful November football. It'll at least mean a whole lot for one team. Hopefully it means a whole lot for both teams. And we have a battle of two teams who are really talented, who don't control their own destiny. Kind of a bummer.
Definitely bummed. This was in many ways, a Charlotte Bowl. Got a lot of Hokie alums in Charlotte. Got a lot of Clemson alums in Charlotte. Clemson, land-grant state institution. Virginia Tech, land-grant state institution. Not enough. I just spazzed out too. Not nearly enough helium in this balloon. Not nearly enough gas in this tank. Not nearly enough juice in this juice box. However, Billy Ray and I always look forward to engaging with this audience, whether you're a Clemson fan jumping in and trying to figure out what we got going on over here, or you're a longtime Virginia Tech fan who will be in attendance on Saturday or everything in between. Still got a game to break down, and we're going to try to have fun here this evening. Billy Ray, nice haircut, by the way.
Got it done today. Headed down to Arrow in Charlotte. Real quick, I think this just kind of sums up the feelings. You called it the Charlotte Bowl. Eric McLean said it himself. We tweeted that picture of Pry kind of looking at him and him laughing, looking the other way. And we said, we got a big one on tilt this weekend. And he summed it up perfectly. He said, it is the disappointment bowl. That is it. So enough doom and gloom. We are going to play this football game. Yeah, we started this one off with 2 minutes of doom and gloom. We're a little upset. Thought this game would have higher stakes. It does not. But it would, speaking of stakes, be like a massive ribeye if we were able to knock off Clemson. So do you want to get started with some Hokie haikus here?
Paul Patera jumps in. He says, what if we show up, beat the hell out of Clemson, and just be happy? It's a really, really, really good haiku. I encourage everyone to listen to that one again. Really good job, Paul Patera. And do you want to read one from Kenny G?
Yeah. First timer said it's my first attempt, a little corny, but here we go. My Hokie haiku of encouragement. Ben, welcome. Ben, it's not corny, and we hope to see you again. Pack Lane Stadium. Forget about Syracuse. That's going to be tough. Got to get that dub. We do. Before we start to preview this game, I do want to shout out Hokie Nation was having a blue, crestfallen, upsetting start to the week. And men's and women's basketball brought the positive vibes. The men covered. Toby Lawal is going to be unbelievably fun to watch. He had 20 points in his Hokie debut. And the ladies won 57-99 or 99-57. So really great job by both teams, bringing some joy. I'm super excited that Mike Young press conferences are back in our life because those are always just a great way to start your morning with some coffee. But know the foe. Let's talk about the paw.
The paw. Clemson University. Billy Ray and I actually went down there a few years ago for Memorial Day weekend. Maybe I'll line up some of those pictures. We'll share them to the article. We went down there, Lake Kiwi, and then a little bit of a tour. We walked through Memorial Stadium. We walked around campus. We got some what do we get? It's like a chain. Again, I'll have to look in the Snapchat memories, but we did have a great time in Clemson, kind of similar to Blacksburg, a little sleepy.
Went to a game this year at Clemson. I was at the Stanford game at night in the wake of the hurricane that came across the Carolinas and the Tennessee area at night. Really solid game day atmosphere. Loved it. Spent some time at the Cat House. Spent some time at the SO Club. Had an awesome time at the SO Club. It was epic. Had a good time. Really good time. My second favorite Death Valley in America. But it was a great time. Tough to beat LSU a couple weeks later, but at some point I'll do a recap on like the scorecard for Clemson. But I really enjoyed it. Very similar vibe to Tech, Pat. Similar sized town, really, really passionate fans. A good entrance. Wouldn't call it a great entrance. Really good entrance. But no, solid situation. They redid like their end zone. It has like these eyes that light up at night. Looks really cool. The Clemson Tiger waves its tail at the top of the scoreboard when they score. It's a nice, fun game day environment.
I would say that Clemson has an excellent entrance. Virginia Tech has an elite entrance. I do think we are
better said.
I think we're at the top of the class there. I think anyone objectively would tell you that Virginia Tech's entrance is better than Clemson's entrance. Clemson fans will tell you that Clemson's entrance is better. A national college football fan and writer will tell you Virginia Tech's entrance is better. Clemson definitely took advantage of the national recruiting era and what kind of began of that over the last decade. Dabo took over, I believe, 2011, and they haven't looked back. Won 2 national championships. Pretty much, it was Clemson versus the field for about a decade for ACC championships. But, backing it up a little bit, they do. Clemson old timers will say, hey, we're just little old Clemson. We're just little old Clemson, kind of similar to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech was Clemson before Clemson was Clemson. Again, Clemson did get to that next level that we never got to. But I think
I do have a little bit of a bone to pick with that with that line. I mean, Clemson did win a national title in the 80s. Believe they went to 2 national titles, but the similarities between winning 10 games like it was your birthright for over a decade, early in the 2000s into the 2010s for Virginia Tech, and basically now for Clemson. So that's my one gripe with that saying. Like, hey, we were there first. They did win a national title in the 80s. That is a thing that happened. But the sustained success of 10 wins plus year in and year out is, I think, something that's completely in this era of instant gratification and winning a national title. I think that gets overseen. We were just going through this with Casey. It's impressive to win 10 games every single year. When that's your standard, you're doing something right. And they've been doing it. They have been the class of our conference pretty much right up to when a little bit after Dabo took the job.
Yep. Yeah. Well, little old Clemson, 23,000 undergrad. Their colors are orange and regalia. Today I found out that regalia is a color. I just thought it was purple. I think their fight song is awesome. Personally.
It's great.
I think it's really good. I think being down there in Orlando in 2016 and hearing the CLEMSON really broke me. It did. And I was like, thank goodness we don't play these guys every year, because that night in Orlando was just so fun, so many highs and then so many lows. We'll talk about that in Hokie history. Notable alums from Clemson. We got Nikki Haley. We got Lee Bryce. Lee Bryce is awesome. I would probably put him on coolest Clemson alum. If you're a Clemson fan, you're listening to this podcast, please comment on the YouTube comments any cooler alums than Lee Bryce that are not affiliated with football.
Well, don't forget friends of the pod, Kelly Gramlich and Eric McLean. Love those two. They're fantastic.
My guy Thompson Brock, he will be coming up to Blacksburg with us for the weekend. He has not been to a game at Virginia Tech. He is a Clemson alum as well. One of my good buddies down here in Charlotte. Lee Bryce, though, I got to tell you, hopefully Clemson football is hard to love after Saturday.
Well,
other alums, Stuart Holden and Iguchi Onyewu, both former, not Virginia Tech, both former United States men's national team soccer players. Football, it's a long list, but we'll hammer a few. Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Taj Boyd, DeAndre Hopkins, Sammy Watkins, Brian Dawkins. Wow, say that 3 times fast, Billy Ray. Hopkins, Watkins, Dawkins.
Wow.
And then Tony Elliott.
Real quick, of that
Big
list,
Virginia.
I may not say who's your favorite because I have a favorite, because we're going to get into this about how you feel on Clemson, but of that list, who like sticks out in your mind? I have two, but who are like the ones that speak to you from Clemson?
I thought you were just going to say that Deshaun Watson was your favorite. For me, I mean, I really loved was it Taj Boyd who would throw it deep to Sammy Watkins? Was that the combo? And they would just deep ball after deep ball after deep ball. And then a few years later, you got Tyrod quarterbacking the Bills and hitting Sammy Watkins in the same way. I thought that was cool. My favorite is Trevor Lawrence. Really like Trevor Lawrence. I know he's had his struggles in the NFL, but I really liked what he did for college football in 2020. He was one of the college football athletes to stand up and put out there, hey, we should be playing football this year. We are here to play football. I think we should play football. So I really admired him for that.
Great callback. I'll say Brian Dawkins is one of my favorite NFL players ever. Just played the game in a time that had awesome safeties. You had Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, and Brian Dawkins, and I loved watching those three play. I actually had no idea he went to Clemson until you put him on here. But for me, it's Taj Boyd. I've said it a bunch of times on this podcast. One of the grittiest performances I had ever seen was, I believe it was the Chick-fil-A Bowl. Taj Boyd literally was playing against LSU. LSU must have sacked him like 6 or 8 times. He was getting hit after every single throw. They end up coming out winning that game. That was a huge, huge win for Dabo early on in his tenure. But big Taj Boyd supporter. I am a fan. Is he from Virginia? Is he a Virginia kid?
He is. I believe he's from Hampton Roads. He might be Hampton High School, but I have the internet at my fingertips, so I will look that up.
While you do that, 41 NFL players active from Clemson, 3 national championships, 27 conference championships, 804 wins all time, which is good for 13th to our 778, which is 18th, and 40 first round picks. Is this correct? They won 0 Heismans? I'm shocked that wow.
0 Heisman winners. They've definitely had their fair share of talent and folks getting invited to New York. Taj Boyd is from Hampton, Virginia, went to Phoebus High School. He was he was right around that Tyrod era, that Logan Thomas era. Hokie history. Virginia Tech is 12-23-1 versus the Clemson Tigers. This goes back 100 years. Our biggest margin of victory versus Clemson was way back in 1924, 100 years ago. Actually, 100 years ago, and 100 years and 4 days ago, on November 1st, 1924, we went down to Clemson and laid it on them, 50-6.
If you were at that game, comment in the YouTube comments if you were there.
If you were at that game. Damn, maybe Betty White was at that game. The Virginia Tech series with Clemson actually goes back to 1900. The first game was on my birthday, November 24th, 1900. 94 years before I was born. We lost to Clemson 12-5. Little scoregami action for you there. And we fast forward all the way. Let's talk about some victories, shall we? Hang on one sec as I pull up the notes. So we did win 5 in a row from 98 to 2007. Clemson has had our number since 2007. They beat us in 11 2 times, including the ACC championship, which they crushed us. Really wasn't a contest. They were an absolute freight train playing Virginia Tech in 2011. They beat us 23-3 at home, October 1st, 2011. That was like a game that was like really, really randomly cold in October. There were some snowflakes. And then again, 38-10. I think Andre Branch just came up with another sack. He was an absolute monster in that series. 2012, tough loss, 3 touchdown loss down in Clemson. 2016, the ACC championship game, just a really, really fun environment. This game was moved to Orlando from Charlotte, so it was kind of just different being in Orlando at Camping World Stadium. We had the ball with A couple minutes left to tie the game. Gerard Evans got picked off inside of the 20-yard line, and we lost 42-35.
Incredible game too. Really, really
would have sent us to the Orange Bowl. Instead, we went to the Belk Bowl and had a miraculous second half comeback over the Arkansas Razor Hogs. And then the last two games we have played Clemson have been at home. So this will be 3 games in a row at home where Clemson comes to Blacksburg. 2017 College Game Day was in town, and we had a big time. Here's what I remember for that game: a pick six, a big time Greg Stroman punt return, College Game Day being there, and us just kind of not having it. That offense wasn't particularly elite from 2017. 2020.
Did ETN have a big run in that game, like a 75-yard run or something like that? I always mix up this game and the Notre Dame game because they were both great environments. It was the Notre Dame back who had like an 80-yard rush.
It was Dexter Williams from Notre Dame in 2018 had a 97-yard run that totally blew the game open. We did host Clemson the last week of the COVID year. They beat us 45-10 at home. This was a very close game at halftime. It was Raheem Blackshear who pretty much caught a Hail Mary to end the half, but it was like as close can be. It was very much like Miami 2024 close to being a touchdown, and it wasn't. They ended up blowing us up in the second half, and this was, as Billy Ray mentioned, Sprinkler Gate, when sprinklers just went off randomly on the field. It was pretty hilarious. We were watching this game together in New Jersey. This might be a fun fact. This is the last game that I've watched on TV in the state of New Jersey, at home at my parents' house. So yeah, that was like the last game of the COVID season. Let's talk about some victories.
That would be the same for me. Yeah, I don't think I've watched a game in the state of New Jersey since then.
Games that I remember watching at home in New Jersey was all of 2020 and then the 2017 Pittsburgh goal line stand. I was actually home for Thanksgiving already. Let's talk about victories, Billy Ray. Let's start in 1998. Go down to Clemson, shellacking 37-0 Virginia Tech. 1999, in particular, this was an epic game. It was a close game. 17-11 was the score. And all of a sudden, Ike Charlton takes an interception into the end zone, gives us a little bit of breathing room in the fourth quarter. And then on like the very next play, or, very next drive, I should say, Corey Moore scoop and score. Hokies win 31-11. So deceptively close, a lot closer than the score entailed on the way to the national championship appearance for Virginia Tech. Michael Vick takes the team to the Gator Bowl in 2000 and beats Clemson 41-20 in Jacksonville in the last game of Michael Vick's college career. And then 2 more, and then we'll jump into the game here.
Wait, what game did you just talk about? 2001?
2001 Gator Bowl.
Yeah, that's this. That's what I'm wearing right now.
Oh, yeah. That's is that VT Thrift?
VT Thrift. Check them out. They got some great stuff.
No, that's an elite crew neck there. 2006 Thunder and Lightning. James Davis, CJ Spiller come to town, ranked number 10 in the country on a Thursday night. October 26, 2006, Virginia Tech destroys Clemson 24-7. Brandon Orr rushes for over 200 yards. Defense plays lights out, lunch pail defense, a true Virginia Tech victory. Running the football, playing good defense, winning at home on Thursday night. It rocked. And then the following year, Hokies went down to Clemson. One of the most fun games. If you said, hey, Pat, what are your top 10 games in Virginia Tech history? This is in that top 10. It's the last time we beat Clemson, October 6, 2007. Hokies scored on a pick six early from DJ Parker. Eddie Royal returned a punt for a touchdown. Macho Harris went 100 yards on a kick return touchdown all in this game. Eddie Royal also returned another punt for a touchdown that was called back because there was a block in the back. But this is also kind of one of the Tyrod Taylor emergence games. He was an 18-year-old true freshman, uses his wheels, had a nice Justin Harper touchdown pass. Really was just awesome all night long in Clemson. And this was also one of the best and most fun nights that we've seen from a Bud Foster defense ever. This is up there with, the Louisville Gator Bowl, where we're just tormenting their quarterback, their wide receivers, their running backs all game long. Lots of big hits from Brandon Flowers, from Cam Martin, from Macho Harris. The list goes on from guys who were impact players that night down in Clemson in 2007. So I'm excited about that Hokie history. I think there have been some fun games. It's just been a really long time where we have been competitive against the Clemson Tigers.
What would be a fun exercise is seeing. I was thinking about this because we were just talking about the last time that we won at the Dome against Syracuse, and we haven't beaten Clemson since 2007. The Atlantic Division, wonder when the last time we won games at some of these schools. Can't think of the last time we beat NC State at NC State. I can't think of the last time we beat Louisville at Louisville. I can't think of the last time that we beat Clemson at Clemson or Syracuse, which is basically predating my life. Florida State beat them in 2018. I know this is kind of random. And then Wake Forest, we lost that game in the COVID season. So it's been a while since we've won some games at these old Atlantic Division faux spots, right?
We lost Wake Forest in 2015 also. That was the 0-0 regulation game.
The meme game. Game. We'll dive into that a little bit more and try to figure that stuff out.
NC State 2010. 2010 was the last time we won in Raleigh.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, David Wilson.
The next question is, we did this with Georgia Tech. How do you individually feel about Clemson? I'm interested to hear your take, lifelong Virginia Tech fan. I have always rooted for Virginia Tech. I wasn't like a diehard Virginia Tech fan when I was growing up. Clemson fell under like the category of teams like, hey, I enjoy watching this team. I don't hate Clemson. I really admire what they've been able to do. Again, like a lot of their fan base culture, a lot of their, first of all, a lot of their environment gives me like SEC. And a lot of their fan base culture reminds me a lot of Hokie Nation. The other thing that I'll say, Dabo's a little quirky, right? I think you either hate Dabo, you like Dabo, or you love Dabo. Like it's kind of polarizing. But what I don't understand is, number one, you can't knock Dabo's success. And number two, Dabo really isn't that different from Shane Beamer, which I think is so funny. And some Clemson fans right now who are watching this are probably like, what are you talking about? They're the same person. They're a little quirky. They're a little outside the box. Shane Beamer has his beefs with some coaches in the SEC. Dabo Swinney, I would pay-per-view watch him fight Dave Doran from NC State. It seems like we're always going to get that every single year. It seems like they're close to coming to blows. The only difference, I guess, is Shane is a little less cringe, maybe, and he crushes social media. Dabo doesn't really have that in his bag. We've seen the TikToks.
Hickory dickory dock.
The mouse ran up the clock.
Coach Swinney's got that drip. And now he's on
TikTok.
I love that.
Personally, I like Dabo.
This is a pro Dabo pod. Dabo Swinney is unapologetically himself.
Yeah.
Okay. And you can like him or you can dislike him, but he is unapologetically himself. I know people do not like Dabo Swinney for a handful of reasons, but one of the reasons being, rumors around paying players before NIL or what have you. The reality is that dozens upon dozens of programs also did the same thing. So I don't really have a true stance there. But as far as
somebody dislike him for his approach to NIL too. Like a lot of people think that it's irresponsible how he's handling NIL. But yeah, I think the proof is in the pudding. His legacy is cemented in winning multiple national championships. And again, I think I've done enough glazing of Dabo Swinney, but I am a fan. I do like Dabo Swinney.
I do think the coverage of Dabo sprinting, running down the hill and sprinting is so funny. Is so funny.
It's so
Like,
good, man.
whether it's that or it's used as a meme, or it's like, my parents aren't home, me like sprinting, and it's just Dabo. Like every single time that meme is used, I think it's really funny. Dabo Sweeney, I did see a stat. I saw a stat on Dabo too. He is a player's coach. He really does get the most out of his guys. Some years are more successful than others, but he does. I saw this. It was either 2017 or 2016. Dabo Sweeney has graduated 99% of his players since 2016, which is number one in the country. So that is a huge sell when it comes to recruiting. And I know it's completely different from, what they're selling at Georgia or what they're selling at Alabama, but definitely have to tip your cap to the graduation rate at Clemson.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to some storylines here. So Clemson is 6-2. They lost their opener to Georgia, and they're coming off a conference loss to Louisville at home. Some other storylines for you. Mansour Delane, Bashal Tutin, and Kyron Drones are all questionable. I have two things to say about this. Number one, I wish they would change this rule. I wish that you had to provide an injury report. There's too much money at stake with gambling and everything else. Number two, I have been saying this for years, and you don't deserve to know the status of players. Like, media doesn't deserve to know it. Fans don't deserve to know it. Opposing teams don't deserve to know it. If it's not a rule, you shouldn't tip your hand at what you're doing. There is no better example of this than literally on Saturday when Fran Brown and Syracuse had no idea what to do with Colin Schlee for an entire quarter. So I just want to reiterate that point that, it's not for you to know if it's not a rule. That has been my stance. It will remain my stance. Colin Schlee is good to go, according to Coach Pry. And one more thing that I just wanted to mention, and I'm being very careful here because I love the Marching Virginians and I love the Corps of Cadet Band. I think they're great. I love bands. Bands are great. Love some percussion, some, trumpets, all of it. John Love was warming up at halftime in the Syracuse game, who's kicking field goals. I didn't think it was a huge deal. John Love doesn't seem like the type who would go out at halftime and be like, how can I disrespect Syracuse and their band? I think it's just one of the best kickers in the ACC warming up to get out there at the potential that he might be asked to kick a field goal at the end of the game. He was not. I just thought it blew up. Kind of turned into like this nobody cares about the bands. Look, we care about the band. We love the band. It just spiraled out of control. Fran Brown spoke about it at his press conference. John Love, I stand behind you 100%. I don't think you meant to disrespect bands at all. And bands, we love you. We love bands. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I don't really have that much of a comment on the situation based on I don't know the rules. I don't know if the kickers are supposed to be out there or not, or if there's a specific time segment where, hey, you can start kicking now. The band is finished up now. Was the band late or was John early? I don't know the information on either side, so I'm not going to weigh in on the matter.
Yeah. So
not that anyone asked my opinion on it, but I do think there's been a lot of rumors swirling about who, a lot of finger pointing, a lot of rumors swirling. But I don't know. I'm not a band guy, and I've never kicked, so I'm not Rich Luttenberger. Kick Luttenberger, as they call him. Another hat tip for Rich, who did send us another epic picture of chopped firewood today. What else, Billy Ray? What else is going on? The game is at 3:30 on Saturday. That rocks, except that there was all this speculation. When's the game going to be? It's going to be noon. It's going to be the ACC network, late slot game of the week. Like, we wouldn't get 3:30 for this. Like, they think, it's going to be noon, ABC. Like, but would game day come? I mean, fans are going to fan. I fan all the time. I obviously plan my weekend and plan my tailgates around when the kickoff is. And if I knew it was going to be a 3:30 game, I probably wouldn't have booked a hotel for the whole weekend and we would have day tripped or something because now we're locked in for the whole weekend. However, I'm excited that it's a 3:30 kick in Lane Stadium in the fall. That'll be fun. It'll be like a nice little vibe. It's going to get dark a little early. You get that nice like fall foliage vibe as the sun's going down, and then the whole second half will be a night game. So that's awesome. Clemson deserves to play at Virginia Tech at night. Second, Mark Jones is on the call. Hand up. Don't like you, Mark Jones. Most of Hokie Nation doesn't like Mark Jones. If you remember the 2019 Miami game in Miami Gardens where Mark Jones and Dusty D, they did the little sneaky low five, if you remember, after Miami scored a touchdown. And we're like, dude, you're literally on camera. We can see you high-fiving after a Miami touchdown. Are you an idiot? So Mark Jones, no.
Pat is upset. Takes a lot to get Pat upset. I do remember that, and that was crazy. Unfortunately, Mark Jones and Dan D's team did lose. Dusty. It was weird. It was very odd. But he kind of reminds me of who's the gentleman on CBS? Maserati Marv. What's his name again?
Gus Jones or Gus?
Yeah, he does. I think he's like JV Gus Johnson. That is what I think of Mark Jones.
I got nothing against Mark Jones as an announcer, as a commentator. Like, let it fly. But as far as like just being a biased commentator on TV, I mean, people aren't going to forget that. So,
well, he also tried to back it up by saying that they were high-fiving about the call, which I thought was interesting. Pat, we don't high-five when we're podcasting, and we make a good point. Maybe we should start.
I was going to say, you do love a good pat on the back after a nice transition. So that being said, let's talk about the next thing, this stripe effect. It is stripe effect on Saturday. It's called like the Hokie effect. So that means that half the stadium is maroon, half the stadium is orange. I believe the last time we did this was 2 years ago versus West Virginia. It was more of a block situation where you had like split down the middle, east stands, left side orange, right side maroon. I remember seeing remember seeing some yellow up in the top right. I was like, dude, no yellow in Lane Stadium. Thankfully, Clemson wears orange. So I'm going to have to look at that map. Did we line it up so the orange section of Clemson fans would like blend in? Because that would be nice little strategy there. Section 129 is in maroon. That is us. Check your local listings for your color. If you are a student, you will be wearing maroon. The whole student section is set up in maroon for the game. And then Billy Ray, I know, maybe a light jacket for kickoff, 60-ish degrees. What's the vibe?
Probably going to be windbreaker effect. I don't know. I got to get out there and see how the air feels. 60 degrees. Is there going to be some wind? Is there going to be some cloud coverage? Is it going to be really cold? I don't know. We'll find out. I do know that I will be there in maroon with a smile on my face. So looking forward to it. We have a good bit to get to here. And I don't want to look backwards, but I feel like it would be not inappropriate. I feel like it would be foolish to not address something that happened today. And Coach, we're going to talk about the pressers. In Coach Pry's press conference today, there were several times where we were asked about clock management. And clock management has been something plaguing this team for the entirety of this season. And here are some of the questions that came up. So one of the topics was clarity on the ACC officiating crew around halftime. And essentially the message back was, we have clarity now, and there was not clarity then, and there was also a miscommunication. So following the Syracuse game, I said, like, why are we not throwing like a fit or going to the hash or going to the 50-yard line? Like, to me, it just doesn't make sense that we would resume play if either of the coaches didn't understand what the complete situation was from a timeout perspective, a ruling perspective, a time perspective. So that was just odd to me. And, a ton of people are talking about it. Another point was David Teal followed up on this and asked, was the miscommunication from the officials or was it in between the coaches? And Pry said specifically it was from the officials. They did not know the time on the clock and the situation. To me, it's just like, how are we not literally saying there's not another play being ran until we understand the situation? Because it literally costed points. And we saw this in the Miami game. We saw it at halftime in the Syracuse game. We have seen this time issue come up and up and up and up. And then the other question and topic that was approached was, who are the staffers that are working on the time issue? Who is advising on timeouts, situational stuff? And the answer was that we have a staffer in the press box who's on a headset. Brian, I'm assuming Chris, and Mike, I'm assuming Hazel. This is just a ton of cooks dealing with time. And credit to him. He took accountability. He said it's an area we need to get better at. I think that this 4 to 6 minute exchange about this subject matter was concerning. Because it seems like there's just a lot of cooks in the kitchen right now. It's not something that's kind of like I'm having trouble wrapping my head around it. And it doesn't make me feel great that this has cost us multiple football games. And it seems like we're still trying to figure out what the right formula is for this. Do you have any thoughts, Pat?
I just know, like, you got to control the game when you have the ball or the game is going to control you. And I just don't like how it feels like we're consistently being put in a position where we're letting the officials do what the officials want to do without having any sort of, can we put our foot down? Can we make sure that, we are in control and we're not going to go out and snap that ball? We're going to go out and figure out why, find out the reason why, instead of, showing up and saying, yeah, we're not really sure. It just seems like there's a lot of gray area on what's going on. And I know the officiating's been bad, but, I also know that you can benefit from throwing a headset. You can benefit from going out there and making it known that I'm not going to put up with this BS. And I don't know. I thought that was tough. I didn't love the comment about, we got our backup out there. Like, Colin Schley played himself a great game, and at the closeout to the first half and the second half, we didn't allow him to, go out and cook, as the kids say, as much as, probably most, if not all, the fan base would have desired. You got to go out there and play to win the game and score points. And if you're in a position to score points, you got to go ahead and do that, especially considering our record in one possession games. The data speaks for itself. We don't need to say much more about the data. But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on the presser. We need to have someone, some professional, some senior veteran guy, attached at his hip saying, hey, in this situation, you should do this and use the clock and control the clock. Do not let the clock control you. Call timeout here. Run this play here based on how much time is left in the game, how many timeouts we have.
And that's not uncommon. You see that at a bunch of college football programs. Lane Kiffin was really one of the first ones to really do that. It wasn't just the clock; it was kind of that situational stuff. But anyway, I don't want to beat it to death. It just was something that was talked about quite a bit. Speaking to the presser on what matters this week, I guess that's it on this side of things. I'll switch it over to Dabo at this point. Here's my last thing. We have fixed the slow starts, which plagued us early on in the year. We have fixed the scoring early out of the gate from the offense. We have been better in turning our brain off for like a half or a quarter. Like, this is the thing that is like the next big fix. Like, the clock thing has to get fixed. It is costing us multiple football games. I don't want to beat it to death, but that's my last point on it. Coach Sweeney, previewing us, he says, Tech is a tough team, 4 losses by 21 points, one of the most experienced teams in the country. He also reiterated multiple times that Kyron Drones is a grown man. He alluded to the bag of tricks that Coach Bowen has ran, the flea flicker, the halfback pass, the tight end throwback, which further kind of makes the point that the reason you run those plays, number one, is because they've been effective, and number two, you're making different teams prepare for them. Two things that I thought were funny or of note, so one of them is not funny, from his press conference that had absolutely nothing to do with the game. He wished his mother, his sweet, precious 80-year-old mother, happy birthday today, and his father's birthday was the day before. And then also, this was picked up by the national tabloids. Dabo Swinney was turned away at the ballot box today. His son is named William Sweeney, and he is named William Sweeney, and the system indicated that he had already voted. So some beef at the press at the post office box today.
Do you mean to tell me that his name isn't legally Dabo?
It does not say Dabo on birth certificate. He did also mention that we don't control our own destiny, but we do control our decision on how we respond, practice, and what we do about it this week, which leads us to our vibe check. It is the Disappointment Bowl. 2 devastating losses for both programs. Virginia Tech, we already talked about it. Still pissed, still bummed. Clemson had it made, man. They were likely going to be a top 10 team. They welcomed Louisville in and were completely outclassed at home. Like, you can look at the score and be like, okay, lost it. No, if you watch the actual football game, Louisville took it to them for 4 quarters. They lost 21-33, 26-7. Louisville was leading in the fourth quarter. They gave up 7.8 yards per rush. Isaac Brown of Louisville had 20 carries for 151.
I'm still confused. I'm still confused about this football game. I didn't get to. I was barely watching. I saw their blocked field goal that they took back for a touchdown. But just looking at the box score of this football game,
it's such a weird box score.
I'm really confused. Clemson had the ball for 38 minutes. They threw for 228 yards, no turnovers, other than this, unless there were multiple special teams touchdowns by Louisville. But they had almost 100 more total yards. They were 5 of 6 on fourth down. They were 11 of 23 on third down. Louisville was only 4 of 12 on third down. Like, it looks like Louisville only played 3 quarters like on this box score. Very confused. The penalties wasn't anything crazy. It does look like Louisville just was better at running the football than Clemson was. But yeah, having a hard time kind of understanding. It seems like it was a weird football game.
Yeah. And again, Clemson losing at home to a Louisville team when they seem to have all of the juice in the world and kind of on a crash collision course with Miami. And that is no longer. It's also pretty crazy that this is Clemson's second to last ACC game. They have 4 games remaining. So they play us, then they play Pittsburgh, and then they play Citadel and South Carolina. So they do that SEC thing where they play like a complete cupcake before they play their rival, South Carolina. South Carolina Clemson is going to be a fun game this year. I am excited to tune in to that one. But that is the vibe check for these 2 football teams. Let's talk about them. Clemson is 6-2 and ranked 19th in the AP poll. They're scoring 39.4 points per game, which is good for 9th in the country, and giving up 24.2, which is 68th. Clemson is ranked 15th in S&P Plus. Virginia Tech is still, man. Virginia Tech, the S&P Plus loves Virginia Tech. We are 27th.
I mean, how could the S&P not? How could they not? How could the JP poll not love Virginia Tech? You know, this team is 8-0-1 if games are decided at the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter.
I know.
We're just that close. So you know, statistically speaking, it's just not getting it done in close games.
Quick previews of the offense and defense. The offense is 9th ranked in scoring offense in America, 39.4 points per game. As I just said, they are 7th in yards per game with 491 yards per game. Wow. Pat, I wonder when the last time Virginia Tech played 2 high-powered offenses like Clemson and Miami in the same year. It almost seems like we're previewing Pac-12 teams right now. RIP.
Probably like 2016 when we had all those good quarterbacks in the conference. That would be my initial thought on that.
Cade Klubnik, 21 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He's already over 2,000 yards in the year. I think Cade Klubnik doesn't get a lot of love because his stock was so low coming into the season, but he's third in the ACC in quarterback rating. He does a really good job keeping plays alive with his legs and extending plays. He did that a ton against Stanford. And Syracuse has a top 25 passing attack in America. Now, this, in my opinion, as long as they can keep players in the building and out of the transfer portal, their receiving core is very talented, but they're also very young. So a game like last week, they had a really hard time pushing the ball down the field. But here are some of their impact players. Antonio Williams is a redshirt sophomore. He has 34 catches for 418 yards and 6 touchdowns. Bryant Wesco is a freshman, 18 catches for 315, 2 touchdowns. TJ Moore, freshman, 21 catches, 331 and 3 touchdowns. And then Troy Stellato is a redshirt junior. Adam Randall is a junior. And Misyoon Jelly is a redshirt freshman. Very, very, very young group. And then their tight end, Jake Briningstool. What a name. 32 catches for 349 and 4 touchdowns. He is their second leading receiver. So very, very young room. Good quarterback. The results have been up and down from their wide receiver room, but that brings us to their absolute bell cow, their workhorse, and in my opinion, their best player. This is the senior running back, Phil Maffa. He's an absolute dog. He's from Loganville, Georgia, 6.3 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns. He kind of goes as Clemson goes. Really good after contact. I'm very excited to see our front go against him. Really talented player. But Phil Maffa, I think, kind of dictates their success. Last thing, they're converting 70% almost on 4th down, which is impressive.
5 of 6 against Louisville. Phil Maffa did have 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter last weekend hosting Louisville. Phil Maffa, it's kind of a fun name. Phil Maffa. I think it's a fun name. I think Phil Maffa is good. And just looking more into this football game, it looks like Louisville just played complimentary football, honestly. They had 4 field goals. All 3 of those 4 were from beyond 40 yards. They blocked a field goal and took it back for a touchdown, and then Clemson missed a field goal. There's your ball game right there. So, yeah. Defense.
Here we go. Wes Godwin is the defensive coordinator. He's been with the Tigers for almost 15 years. It's a long time. Giving up 5.7 yards per rush, which is an opportunity for the Hokies. I have no idea who's going to be running the ball. I hope Bashal Tuden is healthy. It's really hard to preview this game when our best player and quarterback might not be playing. And so is one of our corners. So, I mean, I had no idea what's going to happen on Lane Stadium on Saturday, man. I'm very perplexed to see what happens. They gave up 64 points in the last 2 weeks against UVA and Louisville. UVA, however, not so fast, scored 21 of their 31 points in the 4th quarter. So that is a little bit misleading. Statistical leaders here. It's a real name.
Good name.
Wade Woodaz is their leading tackler with 60. 2 sacks, a pick, and 3 forced fumbles. I did see a comment or tweet from somebody, I think they're a common listener, saying that we are mispronouncing names. And I do just want to say, hey, got a lot of names here. Some of them are difficult to pronounce. Never mean to do it, but I do apologize for any pronunciations of words and names. I thought you were raising your hand. TJ Parker is their leading.
My computer froze. I was just going to say that Matilda Eck apparently does not like going by Tilly. So
yeah, we got a couple texts. No more Tilly. It's over.
Virginia Tech. Maybe some puns with Eck, but Tilly, we're throwing that one out. Matilda or Eck for now.
TJ Parker is their leading sack getter with 5 on the year. They have 17 as a team, and looking to see if Peter Woods, who's their best run stopper, he went out. There are actually a couple players that went out for Clemson last week against Louisville. So last thing, specialists, Nolan Hauser, 12 of 16 on field goals, no makes over 40. I know we just kind of buzzed through this, Pat, and really, like, this football game comes down to this for me. It's three questions. Which one of these teams are more motivated? And I'll say this: I've never seen a Clemson team just like quit if they weren't going to make the playoff. I also haven't seen Virginia Tech quit. In 2022, it would have been very easy to let go of the rope. They didn't win a lot of games, but they didn't quit in any football games. In 2023, saved the season after we thought that it was going to be a disaster year. And we're seeing what's going to happen here. So that's number one. Number two, are we healthy enough? Who's going to be playing, who's not going to be playing? And then number three is the most important. It is an opportunity to punch up. It was a very difficult exercise last week to go ahead and read through all of the teams that we have beaten in 3 years. And quite honestly, cover your kids' ears. None of them are really worth a shit. Like, none of them really stand out as a team that you're like, wow, that is a big win against a healthy team who finished the year well. This is an opportunity to do that. And I think that is what a lot of people are waiting for, is like, can we punch up and can we overachieve in a game in Lane Stadium against the top 25 team where you're a 6.5 point underdog? I'm shocked it's only 6.5 points. But that is the opportunity that we are being presented with on Saturday. So those are the three questions that I have, and we're going to have them answered here on Saturday.
And you guys know this, but two more questions to add to that pile. Which team can make the best adjustments coming out of halftime, and which team can manage the clock in crunch time? Benny's lines. Grant Watson always helping out. We do have the Beat Clemson pins over at Main Street Pharmacy, now known as Count's Pharmacy on Main Street in Blacksburg. Jump on in there. Go grab yourself a pin. Get a Center Street Athletics t-shirt. Get yourself a Sons of Saturday flag. The pins are free, by the way. I feel like we don't tell people enough that the pins are actually free. So you don't have to pay for the pin. You can actually wear that pin to Benny's, on Draper, Benny Marzano's, around game day weekend. Wear it on a game day weekend. Get $1 off your slice. We did that last time we were down there. Might have to go back.
Benny's lines. Clemson is a 6.5 point favorite, which means that they're a 3.5 point favorite in a neutral site, but it's not a neutral site. And the over-under is at 53.5. Man, I can't believe that number is 6.5. That is very surprising to me.
I'm not that surprised by that number.
Injured quarterback, potentially injured running back. This line 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I believe, on DraftKings was like 14.5. So it has moved significantly from what you could have got on DraftKings. And I think Josh Pate said on his show that Clemson would have been a 10 or 12 point favorite coming to Blacksburg. This was before the Syracuse game and before the Louisville game. But
again,
surprising to me.
I think the Louisville game proved what Virginia Tech is this year. Sorry, the Syracuse game proved what Virginia Tech is this year, versus the Louisville game was kind of more of a one-off what the heck happened game for Clemson. But, I think I was under the impression that Clemson, post-Georgia, Clemson was a buzzsaw, and they would be coming to Blacksburg, and they would be a top 10 team. But we found out last week that they have some vulnerabilities, especially at home. Night game, the fact that they lost that game was just a huge head scratcher. Grant Watson did bless us with some over-unders. Phil Maffa, our guy, rushing yards, 109.5 rushing yards. Billy Ray.
He's been under 100 only 3 times, and one of those times was against UGA. I think he's going to get the lion's share of the load, so I will go over for Phil Maffa, 109.5 yards.
Philium. He did run for 171 yards versus Louisville. He got 30 carries. He's going to get the ball all night long. I'll also take the over there. Gosnell brothers combined catches, 7.5.
I'm going to go under just because I think Ollie Jennings is looking to get more involved and we're spreading it around a little more. So I'll go under.
8 is a lot. It's like a big, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They've been great the last 2 weeks. They've been great all season. That is a tough number though. I'm going to take the over because why not? Hokies points scored 24.5. I have the under. you have the under.
I do.
Unless we can score a defensive touchdown, maybe something on special teams. We got one more. Cade Klubnik passing yards, 280.5.
I'm going under because I think it's going to be a Phil Maffa game. I think they're going to give the ball to Phil Maffa a whole lot. And also, I still like our defensive backs. So I'll go under.
Phil Maffa is on fire. I like that pick as well. Under 280.5. Score predictions. Billy Ray, give us your score prediction for Saturday's contest.
I would love to be proven wrong. I really do this. I think that Clemson is going to come out more angry than anything else. And I think that there is just a ton of disappointment in the unrealized potential of this season. I have not seen this year enough offensively outside of the Miami game and Stanford that we can compete at the level to win a football game like this. Again, ranked opponent coming into Lane Stadium, really good coaching staff, really talented football team. At the end of the year, coming off disappointment like this. And look, I know Tech has bounced back from defeat before. I'm going to go like 35 or 42-17. I'll put it into 42-17. I hope I get I hope that served as motivation. I hope I'm completely wrong. But I do not feel good about this football game. I don't feel good about this football game at all.
28-17, Clemson. I think the under, and I think Clemson covers on Saturday night in Lane Stadium. Just clearly a back against the wall football game here. There is not as much to play for. You're not playing for a championship or the opportunity at a championship anymore. And again, I said this on the Syracuse post-game pod. The UVA game, beating Virginia and making a bowl, that is table stakes for Virginia Tech. That should happen every single year. That is the very least the standard. So I would love to see us bounce back. But this would be very much a Virginia Tech thing to do is beat Clemson on Saturday. And then,
people are saying that, like, a couple of things. I really just want to see my team compete. And this is the nobody is going to feel good about losing this game and then beating Duke and then beating Virginia. This is really the last chance for this season to have a memorable moment outside of Bashal Tutin breaking the rushing record. Like, if we fast forward like 6 weeks from now and we do the recap on Virginia Tech's football season, and you think back of some of the memorable things of this year, if I just close my eyes and I think of the first thing, it's Bashal Tutin against Boston College. Bashal Tutin broke an amazing record on an amazing night on Thursday night against a Boston College team. We're not going to have an opportunity really to play a team that you're going to be really excited to beat. I mean, are you going to be really excited to beat Duke in Durham the second last week of the season? Are we really going to be super? I mean, it's going to be cool to have UVA back in Lane Stadium for the first time in 5 or 6 years. But it's a game we all expect to win. And then whoever we play in the, Fenway Wasabi Bowl or, I'll be fired up because I'll be in Boston if that's where we do end up going. But, this game is so important because I think the off-season vibe meter will be, you have a chance to move that up a little bit. I think overall people will still be disappointed with the outcome of this season. But if you're able to beat Clemson, you can at least hang your hat on that and say that it's a movement in the right direction.
For sure. I think the program health is in a bad spot right now. And a win over Clemson would be the first time that we have won as an underdog since the Liberty game 2 years ago, which we probably even shouldn't have been an underdog in. This would probably be the first time we would ever beat a good team. It's so hard to look back on last year and all that momentum that we, presumably had. And we put up points like we did at Virginia and even in the bowl game against a depleted team, like that was tangible momentum. I think at this point, it's hard to be excited about the future of the football program. I think if you beat Clemson, you can be more excited about the future of the football program. But, until we do that, it's hard to just go in and say, I'm confident that we're going to win this game on Saturday night. Letters from the
lunch pail. Brandon Miles. The game day shirts recently, as you can tell, we had a light letters from lunch pail this week. That's no disrespect, Brandon. This is the only one we have. Brandon Miles, the game day shirts recently, especially the stripe effect ones, are the equivalent of us playing Shut Up and Dance with me in the stadium. Simply put, they are soft and suck. I have not seen these t-shirts, but I will take your word for it that they are the equivalent of playing Shut Up and Dance. If that is true, it has to be a bad t-shirt. I will say this, and we've floated this out there before. We would love the opportunity to work free of charge on designing some of these shirts. I think that there's a lot left to be desired on the maroon, Hokie, and orange effect and white effect t-shirts. I think we can do better. And by we, I don't mean Sons of Saturday. I know we could do better. But I think as a university, we can do some pretty cool stuff with these shirts. I think we got to step it up. I have not seen these. These may be the best shirt that have ever been printed in the history of humanity. I have not seen it. But
they're not good shirts. They're not. And they haven't been for a long time. Like in my opinion, I think there was a changeover from like SGA running Hokie effect a few years ago. Al Jones would know this better than I would, as would Bijan Peters. But the shirts used to be awesome. That's the standard that we're kind of holding this up against. If you go into Squires Hall and you look on the wall laid against the brick, there's who needs a Benz when you've got a Beamer. There's Lane Stadium or Blacksburg, Virginia, and it says small town, big sound. There's the one from 2008, Maroon Effect 2008. Frank Beamer has got my vote. Like, we had some awesome
what happened?
Effect, Maroon Effect, Orange Effect shirts, and now it just seems that they're not that great.
Mailing it in.
Sons of Saturday, we will do it all. Just help us get there. We will provide a better design. And I'm sorry if you're involved in that process, and you could shoot me a DM and we can talk about it. But I just want to demand excellence from my school. Okay. We spent hours upon hours talking about this stuff. We just have a high standard for what we're putting out there.
We can do better with the shirts. We can certainly do better.
Like, look at what Billy Ray's wearing right now. That's an awesome shirt. Look at this Roback. Use 20%. Use Suns VT. Get 20% off your Roback order. I mean, this should be under your tree this holiday season. I mean, this is a good piece of fabric right here.
Thank you, guys. I hope to see everyone in Blacksburg. I really, really hope to win again. This is such a big moment and big opportunity for this season. And I'm hoping we can pull through and get it done. So, Pat, without further ado,
I want to plug our Section 5 club. I know we got a lot of folks registered for our event on Friday night. If you're going to be in town, come to Bull and Bones. But there's a catch. You have to join the Section 5 club. $5.55 a month. We are doing a buffet. We're jumping in. We're doing the whole buffet. You guys are saying, hey, listen, I'm coming to Blacksburg on Friday night, but there's nowhere to go because there's so many restaurants that are just, the line is longer than your polling station today. Join the Section 5 club. We got the buffet covered. We are covering the buffet. But learn more at our website, sonsofsaturday.com. There's a panel for the Section 5 club, and we'll probably put out a little notice there. But yeah, you got to register, you got to RSVP, and you got to be a Section 5 club member. We're covering buffet and some drinks as well from 7 to 9.
Go Hokies, go sports, enjoy the games. Beat Clemson. Beat the Paw.